Welcome everyone to this meeting of Homo Luminous. As I heard Sasha Stone use that term recently, basically Homo sapiens who've seen through, awoken from the veil and seen the light. Let's just see who we've got on here. So many beautiful avatars, so many beautiful people. Good to see so many of you. We have 64 people so far. And yes, so I'm in a bit of a shamanic mode today, as you can tell by that music. That was a water prayer on the Giselle album Tribu from, and it featured Huatli, who's an amazing shaman. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place, which is why I've been up since 6 a.m. and I was really trying to shake out a lot of tension during that track and just really feeling a lot of nervous energy today. I'm not quite sure why. So I'm not going to do too much of an introduction today. I'd like to get as many of you on the call as possible. I'm just going to open my chat screen here. So just bear in mind that I'm going to come to you. I'm going to pick you at random. I'm going to try and come to people who haven't spoken on these calls before. You get 2 to 3 minutes each to share, so please keep it short and sweet. If you want to communicate anything, use the chat log, and you will get the full chat log sent to you by email afterwards, provided you're registered. If you're watching this call on YouTube or Odyssey channels, and you want to be on future Zoom calls, then you can always join via my website, rachelelmore.com/sign-up. And then you'll get all of the invitations and all of the chat logs and the recordings as well. I always start these sessions with an invocation, just so that we can come into an alignment. And as I'm in shamanic mode today, I'm once again going to read out the prayer of the 7 galactic directions to start, and then I'm going to come straight to you. From the east, house of light, may wisdom dawn in us so we may see all things in clarity. From the north, house of night, may wisdom ripen in us so we may know all from within. From the west, house of transformation, may wisdom be transformed into right action so we may do what must be done. From the south, house of the eternal sun, may right action reap the harvest so we may enjoy the fruits of planetary being. From above, house of heaven, where star people and ancestors gather, may their blessings come to us now. From below, house of earth, may the heartbeat of her crystal core bless us with harmonies to end all war. From the center, galactic source, which is everywhere at once, may everything be known as the light of mutual love. Okay, so welcome to everyone. The 71 people on as of now, and let's pick someone at random. I'm going to come to the praying mantis, Haber No H. Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello.
I've always been awake, and I've always been able to see, and I've always been very sensitive to this kind of thing. And I knew what was happening the minute it was happening. And I tried to warn people. I wasn't believed, but things are playing out as I said that they would. I just have a couple of things I'd like to bring to your attention, as we've only got a few minutes. One of them, particularly, the Wiley online library has got a page with medical virology on this, stating that people who deny the existence of this thing, I won't say its name because it's all brainwashing. I can't stand any of it. I know brainwashing when I see it. But anyway, the current situation, I've got it here. If I can just switch over. about behavioral manipulation, key to the successful global spread of the new coronavirus. I've had to say it. And it goes on to say human, severe, acute, etc., etc., etc. I'd like you to read this because it's a bit long for me to read, but it's basically stating the same type of thing that toxoplasmosis does. And toxoplasmosis is a parasite, and they are lumping all of this into a single thing. I'm not explaining this very well to you, but I'd like you to go and have a look at this because I think it's very dangerous what they're doing here.
Absolutely.
Attempting to make out that anybody who doesn't believe in this, there's something wrong with them.
Maybe put the link in the chat box so that we can
Okay.
have a look at that afterwards. And yes, absolutely. The move from it being labeled as COVID-19 into coronavirus, which is a sort of all-encompassing term, has allowed them the scope to basically widen this to all sorts of different viruses. So thank you for coming on and sharing that.
I have one more quick thing to say, if I can. Would you think about starting something where we can share ideas on ways that we can possibly run some kind of parallel thing to this? I've got issues with people not being able to work. For instance, my PT instructor can't train me because of this, and his life is going down the drain, and he's had to take on a carer's job. And I was encouraging him to go on his own and build his own business, etc., etc. I'm just using him as an example. But is there a way that maybe we could find or create documentation that protects people from having to close down, and maybe provide insurance that has nothing to do with, that doesn't deny them insurance based on this current nonsense? So some way of enabling people to carry out their businesses.
Yes. Well, in answer to that, there's lots of different channels and groups opening. I've been thinking about how we can create more of an effective communication platform for this group. I've already started a Telegram channel called Rachel Speaks Out, and what I might well do is create a Telegram group for us so that we can actually chat within there. I'm still getting to grips with Telegram, so there are lots of groups. There's the Great Reopening group as well, which is a valuable resource on the Telegram channel, so that might be a starting point, because I know they're putting in various help and practical assistance to businesses who want to reopen. So the Telegram channel, which is called the Great Reopening, is one to look at. Okay, so thanks for coming on and opening the call. I'm going to keep coming round, and I'm going to come to Afterburner, who didn't quite manage to get on, and someone said we have to hear from Afterburner, so I'm hoping Afterburner, your mic is working this week, so I'm going to come to you. Hi, Afterburner.
Hi. Hello, my name is Anne, and I come from Sligo in Ireland. I live in Brighton, been in Brighton for about 7 years. I've been awake since 2011, and I've always felt it was a journey that I needed to involve other people in as regards to advising them. But I'm at the stage now where it feels like all my advice is ignored, and especially by the people I live with locally. And it's really good to have this group where we can find like-minded people together.
Yes.
So that's all I wanted to say really at the moment. I haven't prepared anything. But it's really difficult. All my neighbours and friends are all telling me I'm a nutcase, and you know, where you're getting your ideas from. People like you are few and far between.
Yes.
And I do think that we're like rare diamonds, really, people who think like us, rather than being classed as silly fools.
Yes. Thank you for that, Afterburner. I'm sure many people will share that sentiment. The brainwashing of the mainstream media has been so intense, and I joined a local community group on Facebook a few days ago, and I happened to ask if anyone was involved in this great reopening this weekend, and it was literally grab your pitchforks, and I was like literally attacked. I actually removed myself from the group, but it was vicious. It was absolutely shockingly vicious. So yes, that's a big one, but I don't think I only think it's going to take a critical mass of us to create it's like the 100 monkeys syndrome. When a critical mass of us get it, everyone will get it. And there will be a reveal very soon. I'm certain of it. I'm going to come next to Janet Cope-Stake, who is the yellow daisy. Hi.
Hi. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I'm a psychic medium, but I'm also, sort of try and keep it brief, I also get anxiety. I'm classed as clinically extremely vulnerable, basically been told to stay inside, to shield and everything like this. I'm in remission from leukemia. I have type 2 diabetes and I have a lung condition. Where I've been is having cancelled hospital appointments and things like this, and just feeling very frustrated with how everything is going, very emotional, and just don't know where to turn. But before Christmas, something really upset me. The council had put up signs in the local neighbourhood saying 2020 is almost over, but COVID isn't. And they had put these signs near schools, which was really upsetting. I sent an email to the council and I did get a reply, but it was a very lame reply and just didn't get anywhere with that, really. I don't know. It's just so frustrating. This whole thing is very frustrating. And I just don't know, where to turn, really.
Hey, Janet. Yeah, I mean, feeling a lot of empathy for you there. And sorry to hear about all of your illnesses and how I can appreciate how difficult that must be. One thing that has really helped me is to have this support group. So I'm just wondering if there's, even if it's a tiny group of people, whether there is a small group of people, a bit like this group. It doesn't have to be hundreds, or thousands. It can just be a small group. And actually, it's better to have a smaller group where everyone is 100% engaged and on board than to have a larger group where you've got friction, which is why I left that community group, because the really key thing is that we look after our own vibration and we bring ourselves out of dissonance into resonance, because I'm sure you'll know that all illness is rooted in dis-ease. So the more that we can create loving circles and ease and joy and resonance in our life, and even in the small pockets, that's really key. So I'm wondering if there's a way, Janet, for you to find that group. What I have actually done, I put a notice up on the community notice board asking people to get in touch with me on my telephone number, to text me if they wanted to join a small community group. The notice has probably been ripped down by now, but I'm gonna if it gets ripped down, I'm going to put 2 up. On them I've basically said I'm creating a safe space which is without judgment and attack, a safe space for people to share. So I'll report back on how that goes. So lots of love to you, Janet, and sorry to hear that you're going through all those trials. Let's come to Duncan Husband. Hey, Duncan.
Hiya, Rachel. It's really nice to speak to you.
Hi, love your mural. That's one of the reasons I'm picking interesting images.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Gaia, the Earth goddess. It's something I downloaded, but I'm using the green screen with it. So
okay.
I'll put it on. But yeah, I'm quite shocked at the amount of programming that's been going on with this for people, and how closed people are about this, how well they've been programmed. It's quite shocking for me.
Yes.
Because I mean, I started noticing programming after Princess Diana's death, and the whole sort of outpouring of grief was it shocked me at the time, because it's how come a whole nation, in fact people abroad as well, were actually completely shocked, and the way they were dealing with it. And that was when Tony Blair was in charge of the country. And I suspect that he's probably had quite a bit to do with this as well, because he's back involved on the scene now, isn't he, calling for vaccinations and things like that. And that's absolutely shocked me as well, because they've created this keyword, which is COVID, and as soon as people are actually, that gets mentioned, now people are in this state of fear. So they create this new thing like COVID toes or long COVID or new strains. And as soon as they create a new variant of that word, people are getting more and more scared now. It's just unbelievable for me, really.
Absolutely, Duncan. They know what they're doing, the people behind this. It is a global hostile takeover bid being initiated by World Economic Forum, and so many people have been signed into that as ambassadors for it, as mouthpieces for it, including many of the world political leaders. They're all part of the corporate-backed elite. I've got to hand it to them. They've thought it through. It's very cleverly executed and done. However, that does not mean that it is going to work, because I think there's enough people who can see what's going on. And as I said earlier, it only takes a critical mass. So we have to keep the pressure on.
Seems to be a lot of spiritual people were noticing this to start with. And I'm probably quite lucky in that I started my spiritual journey a few years ago. And this that really helped me with this, I suppose, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Duncan, and thanks for that. Quite often at this point, people start waving. Okay, Val, Lewis.
Okay. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for inviting me on. Hi. I've often messaged you on your YouTubes, but it's the first time I've managed to join on a Monday. So I'm really glad to get on. Thank you. Oh, gosh, it's like, where do I start? I live in a very sleepy village in Buckinghamshire, and I think I'm probably the only awake person in the village. Everyone kind of scurries around, goes out where they have to and back in their house as quickly as they can. And so I'm the only one who's kind of breaking any of the rules, really. But this morning we went for a walk, which was really nice, and went to a cafe in another local village where I know someone who works in the cafe, and they've got a really nice little takeaway going, and they outside the cafe, there's a little group of people. So they go in and they get their sausage roll and their coffee or whatever and stand outside and chat. And whilst we didn't stand outside this morning because I was with my husband who's not awake, it was just so nice to get that sense of community and just talking to a few random people and seeing that there are still people out there who do kind of want to gather and chat. And I was talking to my friend who works in there about our kind of human need for social interaction. And I work in mental health, so I get it, but I'm sort of feeling it big time. So the way that I've helped myself really is I do have some awake friends. None of them are very local, so I do a lot of following people like you and Mark Atwood and all sorts of other people on YouTube. And I joined the Great Reawakening last week, and I actually went down to a local town and met with some of the people, and we got a takeaway coffee and we sat on a bench, three of us together, and we hugged each other and we chatted and we stood close together just to kind of put out that vibe, it's okay, you can do this. It's like, whoa, it's not that scary. I mean, some of the looks we got were horror, but what can you do? The other thing I've been doing is I relentlessly write to my MP, and he's definitely waking up a bit more now, which is fantastic. And then yesterday I wrote to the 16 anti-lockdown MPs. I wrote to all of them to thank them and to say, please keep it up, and also please nudge my MP because I think he's nearly ready to wake up, and drag him into the fold, kind of thing. So yeah, it's just trying to find those things. I try and keep my vibes up. There are times when living with someone who's asleep is quite hard, but I've been on this pathway for a long time. But last year was like the massive additional, it's a whole nother level it's taken us to. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to go on and on. I know you've got loads of people, but thank you for letting me share that. And I'll try and come on again on another Monday. It'd be fantastic. So thanks to everyone for all you're doing. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Val, thanks for coming on. And I totally agree, deluging MPs with letters and also supporting people like Desmond Swain. I sent him an email of support. The other thing I think is really important is freedom of information requests around vaccine statistics, vaccine adverse health impacts, and deaths around vaccines, because I've been knocked back by the NHS. I know many other people have approached people like the RMNA, I think it's called, MRHA, and I think that they will have, at some point, they will have to release statistics on what is going on with the vaccines. And I think that will be the big shocker, that reveal. I'm going to come to David Baines next, who sent me several emails asking to, and he said he emailed me before this call wanting to speak.
I live in Saltburn, North Yorkshire. I'm 82 years young. And obviously, I'm a vulnerable person, obviously, according to the government. Now, my experience within the last 2 or 3 weeks was that I'll read these out from the NHS, which is not a national diamond or a national comfort. On the 20th of January, I got a letter from the NHS inviting me to attend for a COVID vaccination. And it refers to the vaccine from COVID disease, like all medicines, are completely effective, and it takes a few weeks for your body to build up protection. On the second page is, if you do not want this vaccine or change to a different date, please contact your practice to cancel your appointment. Within 24 hours, I rang the local surgery and I said, I decline your invitation. 2 days later, I got a phone call from the secretary. She wanted me to speak to me doctor. And I said, I'm sorry, I've declined your invitation, and put the phone down. Since then, I've blocked the number. End of story. 2 days ago, I got a second letter from the NHS. The text is about 3 times or 4 times the size of a normal text.
Yeah.
And it says, we've sent you this letter as experts recommend that people in your age group are among the first to get the vaccine. This is because evidence shows that risk of serious illness because of coronavirus increases with age. Now, that's where they're coming from, because everybody is vulnerable to age.
Yes. Thanks for coming on, David, and fascinating to hear your experience, how the NHS is kind of railroading older people into having this despite having declined it.
So I'm at the sharp end, and I think everybody's at the sharp end.
Yeah.
No matter what age they are.
Yes. And this is the concern, isn't it? That is there fully informed consent? You know, because this is experimental genetic engineering injections, which have not been fully tested. So under the Nuremberg Code, it is a medical experiment. And it has to have fully informed consent, which means a full explanation of the implications and what's in it and everything for someone to make fully informed consent. And then if someone says, okay, yes, I understand, and I still want it, then fine, off you go. But to railroad and bulldoze you and people like you, David, into it feels very wrong, doesn't it? So thank you for coming on and sharing that. I know that you've done lots of, I'm going to come to your email and reply to you later in the week when I get a bit more time. Okay, so lots of love. Let's come next to Jeremiah O'Day.
I'll keep it short. My name is Jeremiah O'Day. It'll be a bit shaky because if I try and explain things, I get a bit shaky. I got the vaccine for the H1N1 flu back in 2009. And with it comes narcolepsy and cataplexy for life. So I'm 34 in my prime. It literally puts a circle around everything in your life and destroys it. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years for these effects of these adjuvants that they have in the vaccines to start to take effect. They don't happen overnight. The narcolepsy came very quickly, and you start mitigating your life around one thing. Cataplexy came about 3 to 4 years later. And it's very, very upsetting, very confusing and freakish condition. I didn't need to get a vaccine. It was a misdiagnosis. So my doctor, first opportunity, he gets paid for it. He's indemnified by it. We got to wake up people. We got to be a lot stronger than sitting and just talking about this and discussing it on a weekly basis. We got every week take actions every single day. If we don't do something now, children that are getting vaccinated in school will be made. That will become enforced very, very quickly. Once the majority get it, the rest will have to follow suit.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of trouble and distress coming when they start forcing the people that haven't taken it after they get the willing through.
Yes.
We're going to be left into a very difficult position because we'll be up against not only the government and the people that are calling out the narrative, we'll also be up against the masses that have already conformed to it.
Can I just ask, is the medical profession on your side? Did you get any compensation? Has it been acknowledged by the drug companies that they were the cause of this? I mean,
no, down to my doctor. When I went into my doctor after the jab, about 2 weeks later, and I was falling asleep, I couldn't drive the car, couldn't go 10 meters in the car without falling asleep. And I was running a crew of 6 lads working, and I started my life at 11 years of age on a fishing trawler, having left a very difficult sort in my life out in a very straight and honourable way, crossed the T's and dotted the I's as an impeccable human being. And I'm in touch with what I would call, what we all understand as the higher energy, the power, since a very, very young age. The source, Rachel, I tap into it on a regular basis, and you can manifest this magic, you can manifest this energy. And that's what we all need to do right now.
yeah,
We need to
absolutely.
center in and draw out our strengths, the real human strength that is flight or fight. And we duck and run now. We may as well not be talking here today.
Okay. So thank you for coming on, Jeremiah, and sorry to hear that story of vaccine injury.
Just be very careful. And like you say, I don't mind someone takes all the right information and has the correct information, but we don't, and we're not getting it.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for coming on, Jeremiah. I'm going to come to Cess Lumiere, which is the multicolored butterfly.
Hello, my name is Cess. I'm in South England and I'm also French. So I have the vision of Great Britain, what's happening, and also in my family in France. I have chosen to keep my practice, my reflexology practice open since May last year, where I felt I needed to support my community when I started getting more and more text messages of clients saying their mental health was affected.
Yeah.
And slowly I was getting more awake. And I've got a 15 years old who from day one said, something is not right, Mum, something is not right. So it does make me realize I'm here not only in this planet to support my community, but to raise vibration, to let us having a freedom, if that makes sense for me. I wrote a poem which really sums up the way we feel and which explain why I'm very often questioned why I have kept my practice open against many governmental advice. You know, legally maybe it's right or wrong. Anyone can discuss that. But at the end, I always say I'm here for mental health and health service. And the NHS is not here anymore to support you, and I got an increase of clients. So the wise butterfly, you are free to fly, you are free to breathe fresh air, you are free to travel, you are free to be with your family and friends, you are free to go to school. Tell me, where do you come from? You are so at peace, you are so happy, you are so free. Can I grow wings like you? Hello, beautiful soul. You can be like me. You don't need to grow wings. You just need a voice, which you have. Don't be afraid to stand up for your freedom. You will feel as free as me. And this really sums up. We have a voice and we need to talk with each other. And by welcoming my clients into my practice, I can see lots of clients, they're unsure, but they don't really question. So it's my duty to plant a seed and slowly telling them, look into it and giving facts. And I think for people awake, it's really, really important to base your opinions on fact and going back to say, here's what's nationally said, but look into it.
Yes. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming on, and thank you for that beautiful poem. Just a little reminder as well, I did, in the Rachel Speaks Out Telegram group, I did post this morning that the backlog in English courts is now 457,000 cases backlogged. And what that means is if you are a business or if you are fined for breaking the rules, it won't come, and you challenge it, it won't come to court until 2022. And I have a feeling the justice system is going to have to intervene and say to the government, this is crazy, it has to stop. So this is the thing for businesses. You may get a fine, but it's challenge it. Don't just pay it, challenge it on the basis of human rights, international human rights, common law rights, whatever, challenge it and let it go to court, and then let that backlog be millions of people who are being taken to court for their human rights. I think judges and the justice system is going to have to throw it out at some point. Okay, let's come to Vera W., who is the rainbow horse.
Hello. Yes, I was just actually typing a message because I'm quite interested in the discussions about the informed consent with the vaccines. I'm currently working in the NHS as in an admin role, so I'm not clinical or anything, but I do come from a legal background in my previous career, and I do speak to patients, and my main concern really with all this is so many of them seem to have been misled into taking this vaccine. I have to ask them if they've got COVID symptoms, and most of our patients are the more vulnerable, and they're all pretty much convinced that they're now immune because they've had the vaccine, and I just don't believe that that's informed consent. So that's really where I am at the moment with all this. I find a lot of my colleagues are also, like you said, not awake at all. They're just going along with everything. And I think that is because of fear and just wanting to get their lives back, really.
As someone who is inside the NHS, can you tell us, is it overwhelmed? Is it bulging at the seams? What's your sense of what's happening in the NHS?
In one word, no. And this is what started me on my journey, to be frank with you. I always felt right at the beginning something wasn't right, as I'm sure a lot of us have felt. All the media, especially the BBC, are coming out with X, Y, and Z, and that's why I started digging a few months ago. I came across yourself. I came across a guy called Dan Aston Gregory. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him. He's very, very good with the statistics. He's very, very good person to follow, actually. And obviously Vernon Coleman has been excellent. But no, I keep my head down, to be quite honest. I have mentioned to a few of my colleagues that I'm not going to have the vaccine, and my reasons, but they've all carried on, because of course I can have the vaccine because I work for the NHS, and I've just ignored all communications in that direction.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Vera. I'm going to mute you back there. Thanks for coming on and sharing. Okay, I'm going to come next to Angela. I know Angela.
Hi, Rachel.
Hello.
Hi.
Hiya. Good to see you on here.
Nice to see you too. Okay, what shall I say? Well, where I am right now, I think it's a very confusing time for me. And when I'm confused, I go in. And I think it's really important for energy to come in to ourselves when there's so much stuff happening outside. I'm feeling a lot of fear. I even feel the fear as I'm listening to everybody. And so my confusion comes from, in my spiritual practice, following joy, following love, going to the light. And this whole thing is just very, very dark. It's a very dark energy. So I'm personally going through some challenge with that, but in a good way, positive way, and just centering. Yes. And I think it's important, when we talk about this, and this is why I really appreciate this group, the conversations that we're having are not so much about attacking, but about just speaking truth. Because I find on other social media platforms, the aggression and the anger, it's just the opposite side. You know, that fighting energy, I don't think is going to work. It's okay to oppose something without the fight. And I think it's very important to be very clean in how we express this tragic situation with love and compassion for the other side.
Yes.
Because, they are in fear. They are, in a lower vibration. And I think I suppose what I'm saying, I believe it's important to raise our vibration and speak in a different language in order to inspire change in others. And have that positive, to keep this inner knowing that actually there is a very big plan at play from Mother Earth. This is all an expression of what we have co-created together. And our opposing parties, the opposite parties, have a beautiful place in this creation. They are, they are the dark that highlights the light. So I think it's a question of raising vibration, and because I'm not really, I don't have the qualities of activism, my own personal input is to raise my own consciousness, my own conscious awareness.
Yeah.
And, on a personal level, like my mother and my father have both had the vaccine now, and it was very interesting because my father very much agrees with this side, but he still took it through fear. Yes. My mother's very afraid, but she just wants her life back. Now, when I'm speak to my mother about this, and I noticed that as I'm sharing what I believe to be the truth, I keep my mind open. I notice her going into more fear because she's thinking the virus is a solution. And then I was a little bit disturbed by that, because I thought, wow, I understand the power of the mind and fear. And to just simply say to somebody, don't take the virus, it's a very,
you mean the vaccine?
I realized it was imprinting more fear into her. And so I just accepted with grace and with love and raise my own vibration. And that's what I think is truly important for us all, to keep resourcing.
Angela, yeah, thank you. When I come back to the gallery view, or maybe you don't see it in the same way I see it. Anyway, thank you for that, Angela. Angela teaches meditation at Osho, so she's an expert in alignment. And yes, I absolutely agree. We can't fight the world right. We have to transcend this fight, flight, freeze, and transcend judgment as well. So it's very tempting to fall into judgment of the kind of sheep who are asleep type thing, but it's very important to have compassion, because I know I was unconscious. I was that unconscious capitalist, in my, when I was younger. So it's having compassion for that part of me that I feel a lot of shame around for doing all those unconscious things before I realized, So coming to another Tara, let's come to Green Tara. May everyone be happy. Just like the Om Tara.
Hello?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh, I didn't expect a man.
Sorry. Your questions in the email. Yeah, the government response is totally disproportionate, and there is a dark, very dark agenda going on. But from a Buddhist point of view, I agree with Angela very much that they have no compassion. That's why they're so dark, and that's why they're forcing so much for their own benefit. The main protection we've got is our love and compassion for all living beings. It's not enough just have compassion for your friends and few humans kind of thing. And if you're thinking it's a good idea to keep millions of chickens in horrible cages kind of thing because you can get cheap meat, then that's a karmic cause of being kept in a cage because it suits somebody else. Do you know what I mean? It's like we've got to have compassion for every living being, everywhere, this world and all worlds. And hey, anyway, we're going to die soon. We're going to lose this life, whether we like it or not. We're going to go on to another life, and the conditions of that life are going to be determined by what we do in this life. So, that, in a way, that's another way of having a bigger picture. Love all living beings and work for their happiness and peace.
Yes.
And that is the way to raise the vibration. And you'll naturally then help the people around you and have compassion for those who are taken in by all the propaganda and so forth, and help them as far as you can. So yeah, that's what I would say. And yeah. Tara will help. You can rely on a Buddha. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. May everyone be happy. And yeah, maybe if we can all fulfill our Bodhisattva vow in this lifetime, we won't have to keep coming back. So I'm going to come next to Terry, which is the purple and yellow flower. Beautiful flower. I don't know what sort of flower that is. Terry, can you speak?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
I don't really have anything prepared to say, but I do have lots and lots to say about what's going on, as I have done for the last year. I guess for today, I'll talk about kind of the feeling of a lot of people feeling lonely, and I kind of feel that one of the reasons why we're set apart from each other, because I'm very isolated. I don't really have any friends that get it or anything like that. I think one of the reasons why we're so set apart is so that we can hold space and hold light at various distances. If we were all incarnated in one area, one town, it wouldn't help the planet as a whole. So I feel that that's why we are all experiencing this isolation, this loneliness, because we've been plopped in different places to do our job in those areas. And I think that through time, it will get easier. But this is also, for me personally, I believe this is part of my own soul growth, is learn to be on your own, learn to rely on yourself, learn to find your own spirit, your own strength, and and to just withstand whatever's going on in the outer world.
Yeah.
It's been challenging for me because I've kind of known this was all a bit of a farce from the start, but I don't have TV. I got rid of my TV several years ago. I don't read papers. So for me, it's about what my gut is telling me, and I don't see a pandemic. So I knew that something wasn't quite right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks, Terry. Yes, we're all hermits in our little hermit's cave, aren't we? I'm going to come next as we're coming up to 1 o'clock, so I'll try and get a few more people on before the end. I'm going to come to People Council, Winston Churchill. Let's come to you. Let's see what Winston Churchill has to say.
Good morning, Rachel. Can you hear?
Yes.
Rachel, first time on the call, of course. And what I must say straight off is that what you're doing, I think, is absolutely magic. You're connecting people that are all of the similar mind, with a similar mindset, and with similar problems. We've heard so many this morning that are troubled by the fact that they're isolated. Terry said as much, and they're all experiencing problems related to this sea epidemic. With regard to Winston and the People Council, I'd like to say, first of all, you said earlier, several times actually, Rachel, that we needed to attain, the word has gone from my mind, a critical mass.
Yes.
And I believe fully that a critical mass is actually required now to turn the tide. I'm reminded of an event that happened back in 1989 when I was in hospital, maternity hospital, for the birth of my son. And it was at the time of the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall came down at the beginning of November, and I was reading about it in the newspapers in hospital. It was an incredible event, of course, that so many people will remember. And it came about, I believe, because so many people at that point in time wanted exactly the same thing. And to bring about a change in this world as we see it now, we need that critical mass, and the people that we're listening to on the call today, and many, many more, need to have the same opinion of mind, and to focus on what is actually required for all of our futures. The People Council has actually come about as a result of two things. One being a concept for a way of life, a new way of life, and secondly, to spread information about what is being said by some truly great people around the world, great scientists, great medics that have, of course, a completely different opinion to the official narrative that we're all being fed if we choose to eat it. So that is the People Council. It's available to be seen at thepeoplecouncil.com.
Yeah. Have you got a Telegram channel for that?
Sorry, Rachel,
You have a Telegram channel for that?
We will have shortly, to be honest. We will have shortly.
Yeah. I'm actually finding the Telegram channels are very powerful. I'm on quite a few now. It's all a bit newfangled for me, but yeah. So thank you for coming on, People Council. Thank you for sharing that, and please put that link in the chat log so people can find you. Okay, we're coming up to 1 o'clock, so I'm just going to have one more person come on. Someone want to wave? Thursa.
Hi, am I unmuted?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Hi. I thank you for having me on. It's a real privilege to be among such wise and awake people. I just wanted to tell you a few of the things that's going on down here in Glastonbury. And also the connections that we're making with other what they call freedom cells. So there's a guy, you can look at this guy on YouTube. He's called John Bush, and he started this idea in America of freedom cells. You may have spoken about this before, I don't know.
Those, yes.
We have. Okay. So here we've got our own coronavirus support group. It was that you used to be able to have, until the rules changed again, you could have 15 people in a support group. But we do it anyway, you know, and we have a private space here. It was a tattoo studio at one point, this building, but because no one can tattoo anymore, we're now using it as a coronavirus support group meeting place. We've made it into a private members only space. So because it's not in the public, as it were, but those rules don't apply to us. And we've managed to kick Mendip District Council out of our building. They came saying, "Are you open? And what's going on here?" And we kicked them out and said, you know, there are private notices on the door, and we're now going after them for trespass. One woman's been harassing us a couple of times. And we're doing some legal paperwork with people. So we are, I'm on speaker. We're doing some legal paperwork with people. So if they don't want to consent to the vaccine and they need some paperwork to, like, as an axe, you know, because it's all right standing in your sovereignty. It's nice to have a bit of an axe in the form of legal paperwork. So we're doing this it's a 3-letter process, but ours is, like, we send Boris Johnson 5 letters and we copy in Nick Hancock, the Transport Secretary, Suella Braverman, who is the Attorney General, several other people. We send them letters saying, we don't consent to vaccines and being locked down and wearing masks and all the rest of it. We've looked into it and we see that, you know, that the figures don't add up. And also we quote the Nuremberg Code and we quote Human Rights Act, and we lots of different elements, legal elements to our challenge. We give them 10 days to reply, and one of the things they have to reply to is they have to fill in a form, which is an affidavit, saying that they believe the vaccine is completely safe and that there's no reason, you know, for us to worry about it, and that they will take all liability in case of harm to any family member or death or whatever. So we do that. We'd wait 10 days, and obviously they don't answer, you know. So then we send it again, saying calling that a notice of refusal to reply, or a notice of default. I can't remember what that's called. And then we give them another 10 days. Oh, you might not have got our letters. So we give them another 10 days, a lot of legal paperwork, to fill all that in again, send it back again. Another 10 days goes by. They don't reply again, obviously. The third letter is, Kat, what's the third letter called?
I think she said the low.
Oh, right.
Do you want to know?
Third letter's called, is it notice of failure to comply, something like that, isn't it?
What's that for?
For the third letter process. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Yeah, the third letter is called something like a notice of default, notice of dishonor, because they're then in dishonor because they haven't replied. Time. So then you get them into what you say is in the last letter is, because you haven't replied, we take it, and you said this all the way through. We take. Thank you. Final notice of default. We take it that you're now in tacit agreement, because if you haven't replied, it's you're in agreement, because that's what they do to us. Because we don't register our non-consent or register our challenge to something they do to us, it is implied that we've agreed to it, because and it's a legal phrase. So we're doing that to them, and we're trying to get 100 people to do it. We've got about 30 people so far.
Yeah.
Everyone puts their names to it, and so it's not just one nutcase sending a lot of letters to Boris Johnson. It's a movement of nutcases. So,
yeah, that is fabulous.
And I've heard that other towns are doing this as well. There are I think Merseyside is one of the towns that are really very active.
Yes.
There's also something else I'd like to mention just quickly, and that's the light paper. I don't know if everyone here has heard of it. We're one of the hubs for distribution of the light paper. If you go to thelightpaper.co.uk, you can become a distributor.
All right, maybe put that link in the chat box. And thank you so much, Thursa, for coming on and for sharing that practical. Yes, I have looked at that as well. This creating a support group kind of gets under the radar of the rules because it becomes a business, and then you can have meetings and things. So last time I looked at it, I don't know if they've locked that down even further. But anyway, thank you so much, Thursa, for coming on and sharing that. I'm just going to close the call now with an update on the inner sanctum, which I always leave to the end for only those people tenacious enough to stay on and to listen right to the end. So I mentioned this idea of creating a community, investing in freehold land, maybe a farmhouse with land in the Peak District. And I mentioned it at the end of last Monday's call. 20 people have come forward, and so far we've had pledges totaling £2.35 million. So it feels like a viable concept. The challenge is that a lot of that money is tied up in other property, but I'm feeling that there will be people who have got potentially liquid assets, or there's a way we could potentially borrow the money from someone like Triodos, like an ethical bank that kind of has funds for this kind of venture, so that we can then backfill with monies when they become available. So it's a very real possibility. If you're interested in that, of investing in a freehold community, or indeed renting, because for people who don't have the money, there's no reason why we can't have some rental property available within this community. And we're thinking of a large kind of farmland, multiple acres, enough land to grow, to be self-sufficient, organic food. Robin, who's one of the people who's come forward, has got experience as a farmer, which is great. So there's lots of amazing people who've already kind of put their hat in the ring for that. So if anyone is interested, it's a separate thing. Please do email me and put Inner Sanctum in the title, and I will add you to the list. And we're going to have a separate Zoom call to talk about nuts and bolts of how to actually make that manifest, from this idea to make it manifest into the 3D realm. So that feels exciting. And a real possibility. So lots of love to you all. Thank you for joining. Thank you to everyone who's come on. Let's just flick across the screens. I'm recording this, and I will put it out on YouTube and Odyssey either later today or tomorrow. So thank you all to the Homo, Luminous, to those of you who are awake and who are joining together to shine the light and to be part of this metamorphosis where we open a new way of being on this planet, which is about liberty, freedom, love, peace, joy, and optimum health, not through an injection needle, but through coming back into balance with Gaia. So lots of love. Bye for now.